Commissioner Fielder, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Good morning. The time is now 9:30 a.m. Today's date is August 9, 2022. This is the time and place for our regularly scheduled business meeting. I call this meeting to order. Would the other commissioners join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance? I, the United States of America, republic for which one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay. Present in the room this morning are Vice President Johnson, Commissioner Pinocci, and myself. Participating remotely this morning is Commissioner Fielder. Commissioner O'Donnell is excused today, so we do have quorum. Is there public comment? I understand we do have one commenter in the room.
Good morning, President Brown, commissioners. My name is Shannon Heim. I'm the Director of Regulatory Counsel at Northwestern Energy. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank the commission staff for their assistance in processing our electric and natural gas rate review submitted yesterday. It was a voluminous undertaking and we appreciate their assistance. Customers are best served by energy companies that are financially sound and capable of efficiently funding the significant capital expenditures needed to maintain, expand, and modernize the critical infrastructure to meet those customers' energy needs. Transparency during this rate review is important to us. I'd like to point all interested parties and the public towards our website where there is a lot of data related to the case, and it might be a little easier to digest in that forum for the public. And all of the voluminous documents on the Commission's EDDIE system right now. Northwestern will host a public webinar the last week of August to walk through our filing and help the Commission, the interveners, and the public understand the contents of our filing, given the volume and detail contained in it. Information on how to join that webinar will be posted on our website, and we can also post it in the docket as appropriate. We look forward to working with the Commission in adjudicating this rate review and doing the good work for Montana.
All right, thank you, Ms. Heim. Any additional commenters in the room? Seeing none, are there any commenters online? Seeing none. All right. We do have one change to the agenda this morning. We are going to defer work session item number 3, which is docket 2021.12.134, Caithness Beaver Creek, otherwise known as CBC 3. We will defer that to the business meeting of August 16, 2022. All right, let's move to our action items. Action item number 1 is approval of the commission minutes for the week of July 26, 2022. Is there a motion?
Mr. President, move we approve the minutes as distributed.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Is there a second? Commissioner Pinocci is seconded. Is there discussion or changes to the minutes for the week of July 26, 2022? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Vice President's motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Signify by saying no. Seeing no opposition, commission minutes are approved 4-0. All right, let's move into our work session. We're off on our numbering this morning, but so work session item number 1, which would be denoted as number 2 on our agenda this morning, is docket number 2021.11.132. This is Northwestern Energy, the application for pre-approval of energy storage agreement. We're here to issue a ruling on Broadreach Power's motion to dismiss. Mr. Reed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just as a brief overview of this matter, this docket was initiated by Northwestern under the pre-approval statute, section 69-8-421 back in last November. Before the commission could otherwise act on the matter, however, in May, the 4th Judicial District declared the pre-approval statute unconstitutional. That matter is currently before the Supreme Court. In the interim, however, Broadreach has filed a motion to dismiss. The motion to dismiss essentially says that ask the commission to take the position that every action of its that is not mandatory is prohibited, which is to say that since this was filed under pre-approval and there is no pre-approval statute, the commission simply would not be able to act on this matter, which is a bit more broad a limitation on the commission than the commission has previously chosen to act under. Northwestern argues that dismissal of the docket is going to cause it to suffer some harm, but it doesn't cite to any specific harm if the docket is dismissed. There's nothing that staff can see that's going to prevent Northwestern from simply refiling this docket if the pre-approval statute is found to be constitutional, or for that matter, refiling this docket under a different statute. The field is clear for them to do so. If the commission has specific comments, questions, or concerns, I stand ready to respond to them.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Is there a motion, Vice President Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we again find ourselves confronted by that pesky dang thing called the law here. And it's on that basis that I move to dismiss Northwestern's application because the application was indeed filed under Montana Code annotated 69-8-421, which the court in fact has found unconstitutional, Mr. President.
I'll second the motion. Discussion. Question for you, Mr. Reed. What is the status of the underlying case in this matter? It's my understanding that in May, the 4th Judicial District found the pre-approval statute unconstitutional, but is there an appeal pending?
Mr. President, yes, there is. It's been, I'm not sure of the status of the documents before the Supreme Court, but the matter has been noticed for appeal in front of the Supreme Court.
Has a request for stay of the district court's decision been filed?
I'm going to defer that to Ms. Heim.
Okay. Ms. Heim?
Thank you, Mr. President, Commissioners. My understanding is because it's a constitutional issue, a stay is not strictly appropriate. And so a stay has not been sought. And I don't believe it would be granted if it was.
Very good. All right, I'm going to support this motion for the reason that was just discussed by both the Vice President and the small colloquy with legal counsel here. If we were to take any action other than granting the motion to dismiss, I think we would be taking an ultra vires act of the commission in that we would be acting on an unconstitutional statute. So it makes it easy to dismiss this matter. And of course, should the this was an interesting development on the screen. Mr. English, I think maybe you want to close your camera, please. Regardless, if I get my train of thought back here, thank you, Mr. English. Should the Montana Supreme Court determine that the statute is constitutional in contradiction to the Fourth Judicial District Court's finding, then Northwestern Energy could certainly refile its application. So there's no prejudice to the parties here. Additional discussion.
Mr. President,
Commissioner Fielder.
I'm wondering if this act that's being contemplated by the commission today isn't premature. Should not we wait until the court has settled the matter if it's under appeal and it's pending before a court at this time?
Commissioner Fielder, I'll answer that question. That goes to the questions that I was asking of legal counsel as to whether there had been any action on the part of the parties to request a stay or the Montana Supreme Court to grant a stay. The answer to that question was no, and therefore we are required by Montana law to apply the statute. Well, we're required to follow the Fourth Judicial District Court's order that the statute is unconstitutional. And so if we were to apply the statute, it is an unconstitutional statute, which is what we're doing here today. Vice President Johnson, did you want to?
Thank you, Mr. President. Is it not correct that if Northwestern chooses not to wait for the Supreme Court to render a ruling in this case, that there are other provisions in statute under which they could file and seek the same outcome?
Are you directing that to me or Mr. Reed? I would direct to Mr. Reed, but I can answer that.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Vice President, I think there are. I think that the commission has the broad statutory powers granted by 69.3, 102, and 103 that would permit it to do so. However, Northwestern has not chosen to amend its application, and so its application stands based on an unconstitutional statute.
Follow up, Commissioner Fielder.
Just to clarify on that last question, that last point raised by the Vice President. So this is for Mr. Reed. So it's my understanding then that an applicant can, under the general provisions of Title 69, apply for pre-approval, but that the commission isn't required to allow them to do that. Is that correct?
Mr. President, Commissioner Fielder, that's correct. If Northwestern had chosen to amend to file this under our general powers, then the commission could certainly consider the matter. I would bring to the commission's attention the recent Sleepy Hollow case, which was, for all intents and purposes, a pre-approval docket. That the commission settled under its general authority. The issue here is that no such request has been made of the commission, and so the commission might be treading in somewhat more uncertain ground were it to treat this as something other than a case going forward under the pre-approval statute.
Mr. President, follow up. Thank you. So, Mr. Reed, then should I assume that those conversations have occurred with our legal staff and Northwestern's legal staff, that was this possibility of amending under and applying under the broad powers, and they just chose not to do that?
Mr. President, Madam Commissioner, I'm fairly certain that Northwestern's counsel is aware of the possibility of how to do that going forward. It's I would not presume to advise Northwestern's counsel or any counsel appearing before the commission in how to represent their client in the most zealous fashion possible.
We're going a little far afield, I think, of what the topic de jure is today. I'd like to keep it on the legal question, which is the motion to dismiss that has been filed.
And
You wanna add anything?
Mr. President, I was just trying to ascertain the timing of our decision today and the appropriateness of the timing.
Mr. Reed, do you have anything to add?
Mr. President, Commissioner Fielder, I don't see any obstacle to the timing. I don't see that the dismissal would compromise the efficiency and fairness of this proceeding.
Follow up, Commissioner Fielder?
No, thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah, so we're having a sidebar here about a public commenter, but we'll get to that in a second. Is there additional discussion on the Vice President's motion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of the Vice President's motion, which is to grant the motion to dismiss, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no.
No,
Let the minutes reflect that there were 3 aye votes and that Commissioner Fielder voted no. Motion carries. We will happily take public comment at this time if we have an additional public commenter. All right, we're a little bit out of order at this point in time, but I do want to accommodate public comment if someone is interested in participating. So moving on, as noted, docket 2021.12.134 Caithness Beaver Creek CBC 3 has been deferred until the next commission business meeting, which is Tuesday, August 16th. So we're going to take a brief moment here to see if we can get our public commenter. All right, while we're waiting, I'll go ahead and give the notice of closed session that's going to come. I would note that work session item number 3 is a personnel matter, which is going to be closed to the public. Presiding officer of any meeting may close the meeting during the time the discussion relates to a matter of individual privacy. And then if the presiding officer determines that the demands of the individual privacy clearly exceed the merits of public disclosure, we'll be moving into a closed session, which will involve discussions regarding internal personnel matters, including a discussion of the status of the vacant executive director position, candidates who have expressed interest in the same, along with the discussion of the duties of that position. Consequently, I've determined that the privacy interests of the individuals which will be subject to these discussions outweigh the merits of public disclosure. Accordingly, once we are done with the public comment, we will move into a closed meeting. Do we have a public commenter?
Mr. President, is somebody speaking right now?
That would be the conversation in the room.
Okay, just wanted to let you know I can't hear anything.
We're on a bit of a pause here, Commissioner Fielder, while we try to get our public commenter. Okay. We do not have a public commenter, I am told, so that was a nice pause there. Okay, so we are going to move into closed session at this point in time. After closed session, we will adjourn the business meeting for the day. I would just advise an interested person that our next commission business meeting will be Tuesday, August 16th, 2022 at 9:30 a.m. And with that, we'll move into closed session.